Hello and welcome to the Amateur Skeptics Podcast, number 78. I'm your host, Brian. Joining me this evening, Kimberly.
Hi there.
And Ian.
Hello.
And, of course, Mac Sean.
By a dint of a lot of work and willpower to get everything ready and working by tonight, yes.
Yeah. You know, he bothered me all weekend about his damn computer.
Not all weekend. I left you alone on Saturday because I wasn't having a problem. I popped a new motherboard into this, and while I'm excited about the new motherboard, there were some interesting challenges along the way.
Well, that's
one of those involves me being on Vista right now, which is in and of itself a challenge.
Whew, that's tough.
I might like Windows 8 less than I liked Vista.
Yeah.
You thought
I
haven't tried 8. You're saying Vista is better than the Windows 8 experience?
I think so.
Those are some strong words.
Yeah, and I'm happy to use them too because I am really disliking the interface. And if I had a touch screen at work, it might be better. But man, even like turning Windows 8 off is a challenge just to shut it down. I can't find anything. And you might say, well, it's just because, you're used to another interface. No, I don't know how you would find anything if you didn't actually know exactly what you're looking for. Which I think is part of the problem. The interface should be, intuitive so that you can, kind of, discover the stuff that you need, I think. And I don't know how anybody would do that in Windows 8.
This might sound like one of those crazy conspiracy theories, but if you take Vista, the word Vista, and you flip over the V and put it next to the A, and you superimpose the I, the S, and the T upon one another, it spells Millennium Edition.
Yeah, good try, but yeah, I don't know. So I don't know. I will be very much against.
On an Etch-a-Sketch, Brian.
Yeah. I will be very much against moving any of my users to Windows 90 or Windows 8. I'm not doing it. We're staying on 7.
Windows 98.
Yeah. No, maybe I'll go back to Windows 98. No, I will stay on 7. I won't move them to Windows 8. My users.
Give me a Windows 98 64-bit, and I'll take that.
Oh, I wouldn't. Windows 98 was really crap.
I know. And the Windows XP 64-bit edition, I understand that there's some interesting challenges with that, particularly in terms of my work. So,
well, that and drivers, it's not well supported in the industry at all. It was, I don't know why Microsoft did it. It was kind of an afterthought for them. They did it.
Yeah.
But
because they wanted to see if it could be done.
Maybe. I don't know. It's not well supported. So, Windows 7, 64-bit, I'm pretty happy with. But if I had to move, if Windows 8 was my only option, I might consider Linux for all of my users.
Yeah.
That might be a bit of a challenge, but because all of our backend systems are running on Linux, the integration would actually be nicer than what we've currently got in a lot of ways.
I hear your teal in the background.
Yep. Yeah, you can. Yeah, we've got an aviary now. We really do. I think you've still got more birds than we do.
You've got 3?
We've got 3 now.
Okay. Yeah, I beat you.
Yeah.
But in terms of mass, I don't know. I'd have to weigh Sydney against the Eclectus. So.
Is it
still no birds over here?
Yeah, no birds over there. Is it a full-size cockatoo, or was it like one of the smaller breeds?
The cockatoo?
Yeah.
It's an umbrella.
Yeah, but is it the full-size umbrella or the smaller?
It's a full-size umbrella.
Yeah, no, you outweigh me.
Yeah, unfortunately, my theory on why they call them umbrella cockatoos did not turn out to have any merit. So
is it a groaner?
Probably.
Yeah.
My theory is that in the event of rain, they spread their wings out and they extrude a handle from their underside so you can hold them up over you, but that did not actually turn out to be the case. There's nowhere for a handle there.
Well, that sounds like it's time to move on to announcements.
Probably is.
All right. You ready?
Yes, we
We
are.
got tons of stuff going on.
I know.
Tons of it. So I'll start off first with this Friday, February 8th. The Secular Hub is having a social event and open house. Now, the event is actually going to be happening across the street from the Hub at the Exto Annex, and it's still 31st and Downing. It's just on a little bit further down 31st, but basically same exact corner. And we're going to have tours of the Hub, and it's just going to be open bar. Well, not open bar. You'll pay for your own drinks, but there'll be a bar, and you can get drinks. There's going to be a DJ starting at 9 o'clock. We're going to be talking a little bit about what the Hub's going to do, give people kind of a first look, and it should be a lot of fun. So that's Friday the 8th. On Saturday the 9th, the Freedom from Religion Foundation is going to have its second monthly meeting. We actually had one last month. That was the same day as a Broncos game, and it was still really well attended. There were over 50 people there. It was a great turnout, really good people, a lot of excitement. So the second one is going to be at the Hamden Library at 2 p.m. on Saturday the 9th, and we'll be kind of moving towards getting that chapter structured and set up.
Now, let me ask you a question. I mean, the guy who did that last time, have we heard from him? Has he scheduled anything? Have you talked to him?
Well, this is the second thing he scheduled, yeah.
Oh, he did schedule it, though.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
It's actually going up on to Meetup right now, and it's my fault that it's so late because I should have done it before.
Okay.
I thought I did.
All right.
But apparently I didn't. So there's also an ACLU talk that same day about the separation of church and state, so the timing is a little bit funky, but that's another one you can go to if you want to go to that. So Sunday, February 10th is the Humanists of Colorado's monthly meeting. This one's going to be at the Secular Hub, kind of a little, but before it opens to the whole public, the Humanists are going to be renting it out. But if you're part of the group or you're interested, come along. We're going to have Dr. James Sekela, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. He does a study on the human genome, and he's going to talk about what the specific genes that make us human. So that should be a really interesting one. And then the really big one is the grand opening of the Hub on Darwin Day, which is Tuesday, February 12th. And we're going to have Dr. James DeGregory from the Colorado Evolution Response Team, which is a group that responds when basically evolution and good science is being threatened in our classrooms. And it has been quite a bit this year. In Colorado, in fact, there was an assembly today at the Capitol to basically keep creationism out of our classrooms. So he'll be talking about that, which should be great. On Wednesday, February 13th, down in Colorado Springs, the Pikes Peaks Skeptic Society is, I believe, just involved in this. Jim Daly from the Focus on the Family is going to be speaking, and I think they're looking for some people to show up to be the secular voice there. So that should be an interesting one. Focus on the Family, of course. Such a progressive group. Not really. Okay, on Sunday, February 17th, again down in Colorado Springs, there's going to be a debate on reality, basically Christian theism versus atheism. And the atheist side is going to be done by our friend Jason Testerman from the Free Thought Exchange, which should be really exciting. And I'll come back to Jason. I want to talk to him about him in another minute or so, but let me go on with the announcements first. On Tuesday, February 19th, the Mile High Skeptics are going to have an organizational meeting by Skype on Skepticamp. So if you want to get involved in getting that program together, you can check out the meetup and get on to that call. Saturday, February 23rd, I think actually this one might have been taken down. Catherine Stewart was going to be speaking, but she's now speaking with Dawkins on the next week, so eliminate that. On the 23rd, though, up in Fort Collins is going to be their Skepticamp 2013. On Wednesday, February 27th, Richard Dawkins is going to be speaking with Catherine Stewart down in Colorado Springs. And then on the 28th, they're going to be speaking at the Colorado Convention Center in Denver. So, 2 chances to see that talk, and that should be really interesting. And I can't believe we've got Dawkins coming back here again so soon, which is terrific. And looking
Dawkins
forward... What's that?
I said when Dawkins met Stewart.
And then looking forward on April 27th is going to be that Skepticamp for the Mile High Skeptics in Denver. And then also just looking further down, we're going to have the Colorado Secular Conference sometime in June or July. There's going to probably be an announcement next time on the organization for that one. So I'll have more information then. So lots and lots of stuff going on for our short month of February.
Before you go on, you were talking about the stuff going on at the Capitol, and it is House Bill 131089, and it's a Teach the Controversy bill. So it's one of these typical, bills that they try and slip in so that they can teach the controversy on global warming and evolution. And what's unique about our bill is that it doesn't just affect the typical like K-12 institutions. They're actually pushing to get it into to higher education as well. So it's a particularly egregious bill.
Yeah, and the bullshit of teach the controversy, well, there is no scientific controversy, of course. It's just a political one. And if you want to talk controversies in politics, that would be great, but they don't belong in the science classroom.
Right. So there is information up at the NCSE, which is the National Center for Scientific Education, and Phil Plait also wrote a really good article, and he wrote to his House representative. And I'm going to write to mine, but she's worthless. But I'm going to write to my old House District one, who's really awesome. But I know her, and I know my senator, and my senator is the vice chair of the Educational Committee. So this is good. That at least I know some of the people down there. So hopefully we can squash this bill before it goes too far.
Yeah.
But it scares me.
It's really terrible. It's like the personhood amendment. It's just, they just constantly keep doing it and wasting resources, and it's unfortunate.
Right. And if you look at the signers for this bill, it's all, creationist Republicans. It's really bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and if I may then transfer to the next topic I wanted to bring up, I mentioned Jason Testerman. He actually got interviewed the other day over at the Hub for 9 News. There was an article that came out. They did a study across the nation of the cities that were the most biblical, and the most biblical meaning that if you were considered a biblical person, you had read the Bible within the last 7 days, and you believe it is generally accurate. So Denver, out of 94 cities surveyed, came in around 71. Not the best, but better than 70 other cities across the nation. So they interviewed Jason as the secular side, and then they also had somebody come in from the Baptist side. But they actually really spent a lot more time on Jason. I think they were a lot more intrigued by this secular point of view. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the link here to the 9 News article with the video. And I think they did a pretty good job. There's still some of that, like, what are we going to do? We're not biblically minded enough. Where instead of celebrating, hey, this is great, we're not very biblically minded as a city. But a decent story, I thought. I don't know if anybody else got to see it or heard about it.
What was number 1?
The number 1, let's see. Do I have that article right here? It was someplace, I believe, in Mississippi. But it was definitely a Bible Belt city. I think it was on the Huffington Post. I can find it for you if you give me some time. But
well, you can put it in the show notes, so it'll be there.
Yeah.
All right. So, all sorts of fun stuff going on, but we're going to start with a little hypocrisy. Ian?
Okay, well, religious hypocrisy is nothing new. We keep seeing it time and time again. But there's been a few interesting stories recently. The first one we'll cover is the Catholic Church showing just how solid its stance is on abortion, and how it's so determined that a fetus is an independent living entity that should have all sorts of rights, except for when it actually might cost the Catholic Church some money. Basically, at this Catholic hospital, this one woman was brought in. I'm trying to remember why. There was some issue, but they called for the doctor, and the doctor was taking his time and never bothered to answer the page and was kind of blowing it off. And so by the time he got there, basically the young woman and her 2 unborn children had died. And so the husband is obviously going after the hospital, saying, you guys were being neglectful. The doctor should have been there. And he's saying going after wrongful death on the fetuses. Well, the church is coming off. This is a Catholic hospital, and they're showing exactly how strong their views are by saying, well, according to the law, the fetuses aren't persons, so you can't do wrongful death on us.
Which is really pretty bad hypocrisy.
Yes.
Yeah. It definitely basically weakens their stance. I mean,
well, yeah, it's potentially going to set legal precedent.
And that's what.
And legal precedent against them in particular.
Yeah, and this is a group that says that man's law is not supposed to outdo God's law. And here they're saying, well, we'll bow down to man's law just because it'll save us some money.
It is an interesting position for them to take on this.
Well, and I guess I have to say that this is not the Catholic Church itself. It is a church-affiliated organization.
It doesn't matter. I don't think it matters.
Well, considering that these hospitals, say that. Okay.
My thought is that the only way for the Catholic Church itself to make a stand on this and actually be in the right is to basically cut their affiliation with this organization.
Okay.
They need to drop this organization like a hot potato if they want to stay in the right on their own stated beliefs.
Yeah, but they're the same type of hospital that says that they will not perform an abortion even if the mother's life is at risk. If the mother's going to die if they don't perform abortion, no, it's more important to keep that child alive. And here they are, saying, well, we'll gladly bow down to the law if it'll save us some money.
This is that same church organization that you're talking about.
Yeah.
This is that same Catholic Health Initiative.
I don't know if it's the exact same, but it's, obviously falls in the same category of the ones that we've seen in the past.
Well, the actions of one organization are the actions of one organization. And, if they're wrong based upon the stated beliefs of what their affiliate is, then they're wrong based upon the stated beliefs of what their affiliation is.
The problem is that this is not a Protestant church. This is the Catholic Church, and they are one entity. Yes, this is one division of that entity, but if the church doesn't appreciate the stand, they have to come out and say something. If they don't, then we can blanketly say that it's the Catholic Church that's being apocryphal here.
And that is an interesting point, Brian. That is an interesting point.
If it was a Protestant church, I would agree with you. If it was a Protestant affiliation, I would have to say yes, this is one Protestant affiliation. But this is the Catholic Church.
If it was a Protestant church, they wouldn't have the same party line.
Well, some of them do.
Some do, some don't.
Exactly, they vary. But the Catholic Church is supposed to be an umbrella organization. Is that not true? The Pope is the one that makes the calls, and then it filters down. Yes, and we know in principle or in practice it doesn't necessarily work like that, but that's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
They aren't all individuals like the Protestant.
And I take it that the church has not come out and said, no, we don't actually
not
believe
that I'm
this,
aware
and
of.
you've got to reward this person, you've got to award this wrongful death suit because this is what we believe.
Yeah.
They haven't come running out and saying that.
They still could.
They could.
So. Yeah, no. Because it's a Catholic organization, I'm happy to paint a broad brush.
Well, you can't do that though.
I can. I have a very big brush.
Okay, you can, but as a skeptic, you've got to take it what you've got there. You can't necessarily.
Well, wait a second. What does the Catholic Church claim? Do they claim to be a whole bunch of individual churches or one church?
They do claim to be one church.
So
with a direct connection to God if they have any questions.
Right. They have a direct connection to God if they have any questions. I don't see how, I mean, either somebody has to come down and tell them you can't do this, or it comes back on them. I don't think that's being...
Isn't that direct connection to God? Isn't that an instant messenger nowadays programmed in Holy C++?
How am I using too broad a brush here?
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Okay, but based on their claims,
since the Catholic Church created him too, he is affiliated with the Catholic Church.
I don't know that I'm using too big a brush because of the way that the Catholic organization is supposed to work.
Right.
I'm sure they're enjoying their tax-exempt status because of who they fall under and all of that other kind of stuff. Plus, the mandatory prayers, the things that you cannot, the different procedures you can and can't get because they have the license. Plus, of course, their employees can't get any birth control from their insurance companies because of their very holy God-given right to not allow contraception. So it really is, I don't think, too strong a brush at all. They are the ones who keep claiming divine right of kings. They are the ones claiming that they are all together in this and that they shouldn't be at all discriminated against and they can do whatever they want. Fuck everybody else.
Maybe because of the fact that this doctor didn't respond in time and is therefore damned in the afterlife, maybe he shouldn't be penalized in his life as well.
Just like the pedophile priest.
Yeah, just like the pedophile priest.
They got this.
God will sort them out. Let God take care of it. Let God sort them out. I am good friends with a practicing Catholic, and I intend to ask him his take on this story.
I would like to hear the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess Kimberly, were you brought up in Catholicism?
I sure was.
And
Roman Catholic.
And doesn't the doctrine filter down like I was saying?
I don't know the exact specifics of everything, but it's a Catholic hospital, and so they will claim that they are not, they don't have to do the same things as a secular hospital because they are God mandated.
Right.
So the way they handle, if the situation had been a little bit different and the children had survived the procedure that was going on and the mother didn't, that's a perfectly legit scenario in a Catholic hospital because the fetuses are more important than the woman is. And that's their kind of standard. They will not give her an abortion even if it will save her life. They've excommunicated people for giving abortions to women just to save their lives. Yeah, totally.
I think, though, technically speaking, that the fetus is only more important than the mother if is man-child.
Well, they like to hedge their bets. It could be 50% chance that it's a man-child, so they want to save them all. But, that's not considered murder. In my book, that's murdering a woman when you make the choice that she should die for the sake of a fetus and that you will not perform a life-saving operation. You've chosen to kill her. And again, these people are choosing to go to that hospital and to believe this crap, so I suppose I'm not entitled to say anything one way or the other. People get to believe what they want, but...
No, because you're a woman. Clearly you're biased.
They just, but it's all very consistent, is what I'm saying, with this kind of belief that, and I think, again, that hypocrisy thing is right here. That fetus is more important than a woman when there isn't money on the line.
Right.
When there's money on the line, all of a sudden that changes. And that's pretty despicable. That's kind of a disgusting thing no matter what. But like I said, when you're murdering women by not giving them abortions that they need to save their lives because you have this, such a real feeling about it, and then to just be like, yeah, well, in this case, we don't owe any money, is ridiculous.
Well, it's showing that they're not willing to stand by their convictions.
Sure.
Well,
in this case, they should say, listen, we're going to stand by our convictions, and yes, we will let it be wrongful death, even though it may cost us money, but our convictions are a fetus is a living thing, and we want to show you that we, disagree with the law. That I would actually have more respect for in this case.
I would, too. I honestly would. My guess here is that even though the organization is Catholic, they probably got a lawyer who is not.
Right, but here's the thing is that the lawyer is still supposed to, well, I don't know, that's a tough one.
No, the job of the lawyer is basically to do whatever to get the client off, whether it's whether it's what the client believes in or not,
But the client can tell them, listen, we will take, we will accept this,
They can, and they're not in this case.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
And that says a lot.
Is this is harmful to the Catholic Church's position if they win this? So they will lose for winning if this happens.
Oh yeah, in so many ways this is a lose-lose for them.
Yeah.
If anyone pays attention. Which we are, but unfortunately, people who pay attention to this stuff do tend to be in the minority, and we're trying to
but next time we have an argument with them about abortion, we'll be able to look and say, listen, there's court precedent that the Catholic Church doesn't think that they are, and here it is, and we'll be able to point to it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I still think that it harms all of the Catholic Church if they win this.
So, which side are you hoping for to win?
You know, it's scary, but as much as I feel bad for the guy, I'd like to see the precedent set in some way.
Yeah.
I don't know what actual Colorado law says about this though, because he is negligent in his response. This may really come down to having nothing to do with the fetuses.
Well, the question is it one wrongful death or is it 3 wrongful deaths?
Yeah.
That is the question, and that's what I think they're trying to argue.
Right, but okay,
they're trying to basically reduce their court costs by 2/3.
Right, but here's the thing: is that this isn't the same as somebody wanting an abortion, because these people wanted these children. Okay, so that makes the incident different right from the start.
Yes, they did. They wanted these children.
Right. Okay. So these people came to the hospital to try and save the wife and child and children, and because of the negligence of this doctor, both died, or all 3 died. So in some ways, I don't know how Colorado law looks at this, because technically, yeah, they weren't people, right? I agree with that, but they certainly were wanted lives that were destroyed because of negligence. Right. So I'm not sure, even whether they win or lose this. Just the fact that they're trying this says something.
It's snake low.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah.
Snake belly low.
Yeah.
But that's, typical, the next one even kind of follows the logic they like to use. So the next one, I love the title of this. Fundamentalist says refrigeration removes sin. Tough luck, gays and lesbians. Basically, there was an interview, with Peter LaBarbera of Americans for Truth about homosexuality with, Oklahoma pastor James Taylor. Okay, so LaBarbera goes into Leviticus stuff, referring to, the infamous one, you shall not lie with a male as with a woman. And then he goes on to point out, well, a big, Leviticus? Leviticus, there we go. Being tongue-tied again. Also says it is sinful to eat pork, shrimp, clams, and oysters. And yet that, doesn't get the attention, and, a lot of Catholics and stuff seem to ignore it. Your Christian group seem to ignore it. So, of course, the pastor comes in and says, there's a couple of problems with that. Some things are cultural. God, I'm really tongue-tied thing. And there are also some things that have happened now in terms of refrigeration and health concern. And those are some of those things that are there. And then he, somehow goes into picking about the difference between how horrible homosexuality is. And it's kind of interesting because what he's saying there is somehow if you refrigerate the stuff, it overdoes God's law. Now, admittedly, nowhere in the Bible does God say that, hey, at some point in time, if you guys figure out this health concern thing, you could disobey my law. But apparently, these pastors have decided to find their little out.
This kind of hypocrisy is rampant, and I don't find it particularly interesting or compelling anymore. I mean, they're cherry pick.
Using an excuse. It's like refrigeration. It's like, how does...
Well, I think we should experiment. Kimberly?
Yes.
Turn on the air conditioning, and I want to know...
I don't have air conditioning.
Okay.
I can open a window.
That's the same thing.
Ice cubes and put them.
Well, basically, what it is the gays and lesbians before they get it on have to refrigerate themselves. So, Kimberly, next time you and your partner decide to have some intimate time together, make sure you are both nice and refrigerated beforehand. Apparently, you'll be fine.
This is ridiculous. He's saying that he's saying literally that because we've discovered refrigeration, these things are not dangerous anymore, so we can ignore those.
Right.
Okay.
And the funny thing is the overall idea that
his point is that if with more knowledge, these things become no longer valid because we're at that point.
Right.
Our cultures change. We evolve. We developed, and certain rules we no longer need to follow. So and that's the perfect argument for why we no longer need to follow any of Leviticus.
Right. But the problem is that homosexuality is still a moral, morally a problem. See, we can refrigerate our shellfish now and make it so that it doesn't hurt us. But gays and lesbians still hurt me morally.
They do?
And threaten your wedding, and threaten your marriage.
Exactly. They threaten my marriage. Gays and lesbians are going to destroy my marriage.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
I think I have a solution here. I think I have a solution here that helps everybody. Kimberly, you don't have air conditioning, but you actually have a refrigerator.
Yes.
Hell, you're good. You've got a refrigerator. Sin is gone.
Basically, before the gays and lesbians should go out in public, they need to refrigerate themselves. And then when they come out in public, it'll be fine because they'll be refrigerated and healthy for us, I guess.
Here's the thing.
I think that it's fine if they just have a refrigerator.
Humans are excellent at compartmentalizing. And so this is how he's chosen to compartmentalize it. That's the only thing that's interesting here, is how he's chosen to compartmentalize it.
You know what else is great at compartmentalizing, Brian? Refrigerators. Mine has like 3 drawers in it. 1 for meats, 2 for crisp vegetables.
Yeah, but it's a great example of what we have continuously seen. No doubt about it.
It's the same thing over and over again. Yes.
Now, the next one's definitely not the same thing. It's not necessarily hypocrisy. It's definitely abuse of the power. And this one, okay. Pastor claimed his penis had been anointed with the Holy Spirit divine semen and raped his faithful.
We've heard this before, too.
Basically, this one pastor would take aside young women and have basically masturbate on them and have them perform oral sex on him and stuff. And the thing I loved on this one, what was it? Basically, okay, Vaticar, that's his name, came to abuse some elderly and defends himself by saying he had an encounter with Jesus in a brothel and gave him the mission of spreading the sacred semen throughout the state, beginning with the faithful Apoy Assembly.
Wait a minute. I'm not clear on the definition of what a brothel is. That's a soup kitchen, right, where they serve broth?
It's a whorehouse, man.
Looking that up. Oh, that's not a soup kitchen. What was Jesus doing in a brothel?
Yeah, that's the first question, right?
Aside from spreading the holy semen through sacred sperm.
Well, Mary Magdalene was, after all, a prostitute.
But apparently he was caught. The pastor was caught red-handed rubbing his penis in the face of a local merchant, which promised to make more sales in her business due to the divine liquid.
It just goes to the same old thing that we've said before. I mean, yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, we've heard this crap before, but it is an absolute necessity that the logic of believing fake things leads to believing other fake things. Once you're trained to believe shit without evidence, you will believe other shit without evidence, no matter how fuck-nut crazy it gets, apparently. I mean, right? That's the point here.
And as far as this pastor goes, he did apparently go, as you so eloquently put it, fuck nut crazy.
And it once more shows that if you really want to be a pervert, the best place to do it is through a church.
No,
I want to know. Best place. I understand that he was caught red-handed. I want to know exactly how his hand got that red.
Well, would you prefer it if they said they caught him hairy-handed?
I would prefer if they caught him Harryhausen, because that would mean that he would be using stop-motion monsters.
All right. Yeah, but no. Okay, so I mean, yeah, but we've seen this before too. Other people saying that they're saving people through having sex with them.
Yeah, but I mean, this guy had gone way out there. He'd gone way outside of. Pretty much you can guarantee that he's not going to get anybody in the. Yeah. You can guarantee he's not going to get anybody in his church saying, "No, he's okay. We're going to move him to a different parish."
Right, but
they're going to. If you were caught, the agency disavows all knowledge of you.
But the officers, as they were taking him in, he offered to save the officers too on the way to the police station, and he also says that he hopes to continue saving people while he's in prison.
I'm sure he'll find a fair amount of people there that will save him, more than likely, rather than him saving them.
Yeah. I think he'll be, considering, I'm guessing that he'll be spreading the word in jail.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the Boy Scouts of America have decided to lift their ban.
Well, they haven't necessarily decided.
Okay.
They are in a meeting, as I think it was supposed to have started today, and they're supposed to have a decision out by Wednesday. And basically rethinking the ban on gays. And the way it's being worded as it's supposed to work is it will be up to the individual sponsoring organizations of the Scout packs and troops as to how they want to handle the gay and lesbian issue. So basically, each Boy Scout troop pack has to have a sponsoring organization, be a school, a church, various groups. I remember my Boy Scout troop was sponsored by the Alameda West Kiwanis. So, I don't know the actual rules for what kind of groups can sponsor the Scout packs and troops, but the way these rules will work is basically the sponsored group would be the ones to decide how they want to deal with the gay and lesbian issue. If this passes, right? Like I said, right now they are apparently in talks about it, and later this week are supposed to have an announcement. We don't know how that will go. Needless to say, this has raised a whole lot of exchanges on both sides of the whole issue.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of sounds like they're trying to get themselves some good publicity and make somebody else the bad guy.
Yeah, well, they're trying to appease everyone at once, and that's still not necessarily working. It's a step in the right direction, but if you look through the articles, I put quite a few because there's been so much of it, including one today, where basically there's been a lot of petitions for the Boy Scouts to go and do this, and so the link's not working.
Anyway, so the one thing and this is typical, I guess, it's not new, but it's interesting that, a lot of these people are talking about how by doing this that they're going to be, destroying, faith-based, morality. And it's interesting that it always has to come back to that. Why is bigotry a faith-based moral?
Well, they're talking about how, if this goes through, you'll have, conflicts of interest when the various packs and troops meet up at the bigger scouting events where they don't all agree with that. And it's like that to me undermines the whole idea of what Scouts is supposed to be.
You know what is that? Tell me what Scouts is supposed to be.
Well, a brotherhood basically where you accept people and work together to build better character.
Okay.
And when it's pursued that way, this shouldn't be an issue. It shouldn't matter. And even if you come together and you disagree with the homosexuality thing, you should judge them on the person they are, and that should overshadow anything else.
Right, but their party line has been that to do that, you need to be God-fearing, straight, and male.
Yes. And so, this goes against breaks one, and that's one of the things that did come up is the fact that, yes, they're looking into doing that for the gays, but they're still not willing to give in on the atheist issue, which would mean that an Eagle Scout, who's also an atheist, would technically shouldn't have ever received my Eagle. And there are a fair amount of atheists in Scouts. I know that for a fact. And I've heard stories, I've talked to them some myself, even in my son's troop, apparently on one boy's board review for his rank advancement, he did mention, I really don't believe in God. And he was told by this Scoutmaster, what? It's not that big of a deal. Just don't make it, don't bring it up. And no one in the troop is going to care. It's kind of don't ask, don't tell kind of thing.
Now, can I paint with the same broad brush here as I can with Catholics, that the doctrine flows down from the top? Or is Scouts more tolerant of individual troops going their own way with things?
I think that's a tough one. I mean, there definitely is a top, and we've talked on this program before, and it's been documented other places. Back in the 70s, the top was basically infiltrated by the Mormons, which is who started these dictates. To Ian's point, individual troops, if they don't make a big deal out of it, can do kind of what they want, because there isn't so much of a oversight on individual troops by this thing. But there is a center, there is a top, and that top has had this anti-gay, anti-atheist agenda.
Well, I think I mentioned this before. When I went for my Eagle Board review, I was an atheist at the time. I did not believe in God. I'm fairly certain my Scoutmaster more or less knew that. They did not bring up religion at all at my Eagle Board review. It was not mentioned. They didn't ask if I believed in God. They didn't do any of that, which is a somewhat standard thing a lot of the time at an Eagle Board review.
Right, but do you say the pledge? How do you deal with that?
Well, I had actually gone over some thinking about that. Did I ever mean the pledge about duty to God and my country? Well, I look at the idea of God. And if I want to take the word God and look at it, God has so many different meanings. It can mean whatever you wish it to mean.
Ian, I think I've mentioned before that your sophistry badge must have been the first one you got.
And is there a badge for obfuscation as well?
So for me, at least, when I'm referring to God in a pledge like that, I'm not referring to a biblical God. I'm referring to a certain concept about humanity.
Yes,
it's trippy, but in the same case, they bring up the God thing, and yet they don't go after Buddhists. Buddhists are allowed to join Scouts just fine. And Buddhists don't have to believe in God. They can go whatever way they want.
But you're compartmentalizing here.
Okay.
I have to say, because you are choosing to take the definition of God and obfuscate it to the point where it doesn't mean what anybody else think it would mean, just so that you can say this pledge and feel okay about it.
Well, I actually now am a bit weary of those pledges. Like with the Pledge of Allegiance, I will skip over God. I will remain silent during that.
Right, but
God.
That's one of the things you have to learn, at least in Webelos. You have to know the pledge.
Yes.
And you have to say God in it. I don't think that any Scoutmaster is going to let you skip the God part and say, I'll sign that. I'll sign off on that.
But wait a second. Did you ever actually do it individual? I was in Scouts my whole life. Nobody ever was like, okay, Kim, your turn. Pledge. Do it.
Yeah,
no, you do. In Webelos, I had to say the pledge in order to get signed off.
Oh, for in order to earn your Webelos badge, you do have to say, but in that case, at the point of Webelos, I didn't know whether or not I was an atheist.
Oh, I didn't have a clue.
Yeah. So at that point, the pledge didn't really have any meaning to me one way or the other. It was just a pledge. Now, I was involved in another youth group called D-Malays, where you did have to memorize the pledge and say it on your own in the middle of the group, independently. It was called D-Malays. It was basically a junior Masons group. It was,
okay.
Boys between 13 and 21, and it's connected to the Masons.
Okay.
And now, admittedly, the same thing. At the time I took their pledge, I didn't know whether or not I believed in God. I couldn't say I was an atheist, but I wasn't devout or anything.
I guess, we're saying some things. I don't know if everybody realizes that Boy Scouts, you don't start that till what, junior high? Prior to that, there's, what are they?
Boy Scouts is, 6th grade.
You start off with
Cub Scouts?
There's Bobcat, Bear, Wolf,
Bobcat's not right. Cub Scout starts off with Tiger Cubs. It goes Tiger Cubs, Wolf, Bear, Webelos. And you're 2 years Webelos now.
What the hell happened to Bobcats?
Wait, I thought there was a Cub Scouts.
Bobcat was never a position. Bobcat's just the first badge you have to earn as a Cub Scout.
Okay.
That's
what I'm talking about.
Okay, so it's Cub Scouts, but you different ranks within Cub Scouts.
Yeah, there's different groups. Basically, it's age group. First, second, third, fourth, and fifth grade. The boys are generally with boys their own age. Then once you get into Boy Scouts, it's more mixed and you kind of go at your own pace.
Okay.
So,
and Ian, thank you for taking our heckling so well and answering.
I'm fine with it. You guys should know that. Giving each other shit is part of the podcast.
You do understand, though, that now that you've actually outed yourself on the podcast, that they're going to be sending out those BSANs to strip your epaulets and break your saber, right? Boy Scouts of America Ninja, which is the rank above Eagle.
That would make for an interesting confrontation, and I'd actually kind of be up for it right now.
Really?
If they want to try and take the Eagle back, I would be up for the confrontation of it. Right now you have a lot of Eagles, gay atheists and non-gay atheists, who are sending back their Eagles in protest. Yeah. I'd almost prefer to do it the other way and keep my Eagle and openly say, I am an atheist Eagle.
Cold dead fingers and whatnot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of think that it would be that would be an interesting.
It's an empty protest to send back your Eagle, is my thought.
Well, but it's making a lot of news every time it happens, so it's not so empty.
You're making news, but on the other hand, you earned the badge. You did a lot to earn that Eagle.
Right, but they're bringing awareness to the situation by giving back their Eagles. So in one way, yes, it's empty, but in another way, it brings attention to the issue.
Yeah, it's a growing thing. There's a lot of Eagle Scouts who are neither atheist or homosexual who are going for the equality. You can find I belong to it. There's a good half dozen Facebook pages. Scouts for Equality, that basically are saying, listen, we want to try and promote the idea that Boy Scouts should not be discriminating. And it's a huge growing movement, and there are so many different levels of it right now.
I happen to think, personally, my thought is that the Boy Scouts should reflect the values of the culture, and they should evolve with the values of the culture. But
I disagree with that because they are a private organization. So as far as, they're kind of outside the culture in that respect, in that they get to dictate their own culture. Now, whether we want them to be that way is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about this before. While I agree with you in theory that they are a private organization, they are an organization that is very often rented public space at a cost that no one else is allowed because of who they are. They're private and they're not.
Do they get public funds?
I'm not sure if they get public funds, but they definitely get public meeting space. They routinely rent space like at schools and places like that for $1. And I can tell you as an organizer of events, no one else is given that deal.
Sure.
So not necessarily public funds, but like public coupons.
Well,
pretty much.
For whatever
they're
reason,
given public because again, there's that nobody really knows, right? Most of the people don't recognize that it isn't given that stuff, and so they're just, giving them whatever they want. I believe they also fall under 501c3, which again puts you in a slightly different place than my organization, my rules. When you're a 501c3 and you're getting tax-exempt status and people can give you money and get tax benefit from it, you are not free.
Right. They are definitely, actually, as a 501c3, I think that they have a problem. That puts them into a different classification as what they can and cannot do. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they've been challenged on that. I don't know if we could either.
Well, yeah, quite frankly, there's a lot that happens in 501c3s that are a little bit dicey. Just, the definition of what a religion is and what they're allowed to get away with. It's all very...
Well, but they're not technically a religion either.
For a good case.
They're certainly treated as a religion, but they are not a religion.
No, and we could ask, and it's an actually really fascinating question, and I'd love to get experts involved in this, of what is a religion. Because you know what it takes in this country to get religious status? To say I'm a religion. That's it. You don't got to back it up with anything.
Well, Scientology, kind of challenged them on that, but they were able to bully their way into being a religion.
Yeah. Well, because there's no limits.
Yeah.
You could have people worship you, and you could organize as a religion. If you can get people to give you money, if you file the paperwork at a far discounted rate, by the way, than other organizations, you get all sorts of rights as a religious organization that other 501c3s do not.
Right.
And all you had to do is say you did it. That's it.
And they don't religion. And they don't have to file all the paperwork. And
right?
And
it's
interesting.
Be investigated.
Yeah. Well, American Atheists is challenging them on that part at least.
Yeah, and it's about time.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I'm really glad to hear that the individual Boy Scout troops and the groups that Ian's talking about on Facebook are there. I think that's really positive. I think they are in totally a damage control situation because they've had these policies for years and years, and most people just didn't know about them because they didn't advertise it. They weren't loud about it, but people found out and they're reacting. And I think this is the perfect example of why, to Mac's point about it being like just symbolism of giving your badge back. It does something. Good people found out that this was going on, and we're like, no, what? No. And they wouldn't have found out if people didn't make stands. I think it's a wonderful piece of our modern culture that we get to talk about what's important to us, and we have a vehicle now for people to hear it.
Well, the other thing, they're an interesting organization in that they are fairly small for a national organization, but they have a lot of weight. They are treated a certain way, and always have been. They've always been kind of looked up to in a lot of ways. I know that I have a friend who's a teacher, and they needed to know what to do with the flag, an old flag. Who do they call? They call the Boy Scouts to come and take care of it for them.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, they do a lot of really cool things that it would be a shame to see them go away. Mm-hmm. Because they can be a benefit to society.
There's a lot of good stuff to them if you go to the basics of what they're about.
Yeah, I agree. We've talked about it too, like, in comparison with the Girl Scouts. I would love to be in a world where I didn't have to look down at Boy Scouts. I wish I didn't have to avoid their fundraisers and stuff, because I do think that the local money goes to good things.
Yeah.
But, I can't personally endorse an organization that has this top level hypocrisy and just terrible values and stuff. But I'd love it if it got back to the point where I could, see and be able to support the organization again. I think it does a lot of great stuff.
I have a very good, really recent, very relevant story about that now. Both my boys are involved in Scouts. That's one reason why I know exactly the modern stuff on how Scouts is going. My older boy is Boy Scouts. My younger one is the Cubby still. And my older boy is trying to sell fertilizer right now to raise money for him to go to summer camp. Well, they both go to the Jefferson County Open School, and they have a garden there. So my older boy thought, okay, I will talk to one of the teachers in charge of the garden and try and see if they'll buy some fertilizer for that. Well, the teacher said he cannot support Boy Scouts because of their stance on discrimination. And this actually troubled my son, because he's like, wait a moment, what's going on? Because, this is the political stuff at the top that really doesn't, the boys themselves are busy doing the real scouting stuff, and the political stuff doesn't directly affect them in that sense. You don't put that pressure on, you don't say, oh, by the way, guys, this is what the idiots at the top are doing to you. So he actually was having some issues over women. The Boy Scouts are discriminating against people for their sexuality, because, we're definitely a very liberal family. We know openly gay people that we hang out with and talk with and, have pleasant conversations with, and have never once made him think that there's something wrong with these people. And so here he is being part of a group that is known for that discrimination, and it did bother him. And this is the first time it's really been brought up to him, because, we do shelter him somewhat from a lot of that. I'm not going to deny it. But it was just, his response was, it really did trouble him that he is having this issue now, because he was told, oh, well, I can't support that group because of stuff that you yourself wouldn't support.
That's really interesting. And this is your older son?
Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
And it's sad that he has to find out that way, but it is going to be a lesson I bet he remembers the rest of his life. And I really think it's awesome. Like you say, you don't need to throw this on a kid, Yeah. He should be working on his stuff, and he should not be having to worry about this. But I'm very proud that that's his reaction when he finds out about it.
I'm actually not surprised that is his reaction. I'm surprised that, you just haven't brought this up to him, huh?
I don't see why he really needs to know about all this. Hopefully, it will get worked out here for too long, and in the end, it's not going to be an issue. But I've talked to my wife, because she's, due to the fact that I have one boy in Cub Scouts and one in Boy Scouts, I've kind of become more active in the Cub Scout aspect. My wife's become more active in the Boy Scouts, because, there's a lot of, stuff going on when you have them divided like that. And so she knows the Boy Scouts better than I do. And she said there's a couple that she thinks are more than likely gay in the troop. There's some stuff that's come out, but, the troop itself, while we do have a chaplain and there's some religious stuff going on, it generally comes off as a don't ask, don't tell kind of group. It's like, okay, we're not going to, make a big deal out of it if we suspect there's something going on there or not.
Are you a den master?
No, right now I am not in any leadership position. I've been a den leader and a cub master, but at this point in time I've taken a step back.
And what if you had a child that said, I don't want to say the God part? Would you give them their badge?
Okay. Yeah. Actually, I'd almost I think I'd respect them more for that than if they just went along with it because you have to go along with it. To me, one of the other things within scouting is, you're teaching them to be trustworthy. You're teaching them to be courageous. You're teaching them to stand up for things. And in the case saying, you know what, I don't agree with this, that takes courage. That shows they're being honest, and that shows they're standing up for what they believe. And that should be rewarded, not punished.
Well, but they're doing a lot of punishing of that.
Yeah, and that's the thing that messes up. Scouting should be all-inclusive. It should be teaching you that this person, if they believe in something you don't, it should be viewed on the exact same merits that you can view yourself on. And that is, how you react to life.
Right, but what would happen? You can get away with this because it's quiet. What happens if this hits the news? Is the big brother arm of scouting going to come down and have a talk with you?
I don't know exactly how that works. I've heard stories, but I've never seen it, and I think it somewhat varies from district to district as to how they really go about it. So
I think they quietly take care of them with a Boy Scout sniper.
Well, we do have training for that, apparently. I know I got pretty good with the 22 when I was doing summer camp. Was never good with the black powder guns, but... All
right. No, I guess the other thing is, you know, I don't know. Is it easier to be a closet atheist or a closet gay?
Well, the problem is generally, you know, like, you can somewhat stereotype actions for being closet gay. You can look at a guy and say, he's a bit effeminate, chances are he's homosexual. It's hard to do that with an atheist. So...
I can personally say I think being gay is more central to who you are. Our sexuality and our sexual orientation is a major, major component of just who we are, and it's not just an intellectual exercise. It's more, I don't know, primal. It's I don't know, bigger than the atheism thing.
Okay.
Obviously, you see, I do tons of work on atheist stuff, but I think if I had to hide, it's a hard one because for me being gay is just easy. It's who I am. I don't struggle with it. I don't really see any backlash these days because things have moved so far. You know, I still don't have all my rights, but I'm closer and closer every day.
Well, according to many surveys, atheists are the most distrusted and hated group out there right now.
Yeah,
right. But I guess I was going to say, you know, to your point there, Kimberly, is that being gay isn't something that can be changed with evidence. Right? Where atheism is an intellectual pursuit and could be changed with evidence. So it is a little bit different matter in that regard.
Yeah, and there's a big difference too. I mean, you know, there's a lot of social situations in which your atheism is really irrelevant. You know, if you bring it up, fine. If you want to make it relevant, that's okay. And, you know, I do in lots and lots of instances in my life. But when it comes to basic social things, being partnered up is very symptomatic of being human. And so if you are forbidden from acknowledging who your partner of choice is, that has a much bigger impact than staying quiet during a pledge for one line or, you know, just like I went to a funeral the other day for a neighbor at I'm not even sure what kind of, I think it was some kind of Baptist church or whatever. I mean, they were praying all up and down and God this and God that. I went to pay my respects. I kept my stuff quiet there.
Right.
I didn't need to do it. But if you had told me I couldn't attend the funeral with my partner, that would have been a bigger deal than me keeping my thoughts to myself. I don't know if I'm being clear or not, but I just think they're on two different levels.
I don't know. This is a difficult one to be clear on because it is more emotional. Mm-hmm. But I understand what you're saying there. But I'm still thinking, but it comes down to the other piece of this is, am I willing to give them money? And I'm still not.
Mm-hmm. I think in the case like this, I might give, and I shouldn't say this because there'll probably be a ring at my doorbell in a minute, but I would give Ian's son money to do his thing with the Boy Scouts. But I don't know that if I went past him selling stuff outside of the store, if I would do it. I don't know if that, again, there's a little bit of hypocrisy there. I recognize that, but I'd want to support the individual kid in doing what he wants to do.
So are you just in buying fertilizer?
I don't have any needs at this particular moment, but I will keep you in mind if I do. But I mean, I've done stuff like this myself. Like my nephew is big into Jesus. And it's unfortunate, but, you know, that's where he's at. Anyway, he wanted to go to some big Christian concert last summer. You know, I didn't want him there. If I had a choice in the matter, you know, I'd send him out to, you know, like Camp Quest or something. But that's what he wanted to do. So, yeah, I gave him some money to do it because I want to support him.
Right.
I didn't really want to support the Christian concert, but
that's what some of these problems
roundabout did.
Supporting the boys versus supporting the organization.
Well, but that's but that's the thing is how much of that, if I buy that fertilizer, how much of it pays for the fertilizer, how much of it goes to Boy Scouts, and how much of it goes to him?
Actually, in this case, this is a fundraiser set up outside of the Scouts. So, the profits from it will actually go to him for Scout Camp. Now, at that point, it goes to Scout Camp. So the money will go to fund the camp for Boy Scouts, and so the organization will get some there. But by directly buying it, it goes into his Scout account for his use for Scout activities.
Okay.
Why are they selling fertilizer now instead of popcorn?
Well, they do popcorn in the fall. The fertilizer thing is something his troop found and does to help the boys raise money for summer camp.
It's not for that demolitions arm that they've been working on.
Yeah, I was going to say, because fertilizer can be used. It can be used. I don't fund terrorist organizations yet.
All right. Is there anything more to say about this? I mean, I think we've kind of hit it that, that they're still going to discriminate against some people, but this is a huge step if they actually go through with it.
If they do it, and that'll obviously probably be a follow-up for our podcast in 2 weeks as to what ends up being decided this week.
All right.
And this is a big step. I mean, when their response to the public pressure of you need to let gay kids in, it's only a matter of time before the public pressure comes in and says you can't discriminate against atheist kids either. And they'll respond the same way. So it's actually setting really good precedent for people who believe in freedom and and individual expression, which, like, Ian said, I think very, very well. That's what Boy Scouts that's what Scouts are supposed to be all about, is encouraging kids to be who they are, giving them the support and making them into the best people they can be. So I think it's a really good first step.
So we'll finish up tonight with a little segment I'm calling "There Be Assholes Out There." Now, both of these stories are ones that are very dear to me in regards to I love the world, the convention world. I mean, we now have a Comic-Con out here in Denver, and it is awesome. I went last year. My whole family's looking forward to going this year, and we're getting everyone we can excited about going. If half the people that say that they're going to go that we know show up there, we may have a huge crowd roaming around Comic-Con.
Yeah, we've been talking about buying tickets. We've been talking about doing it, and so we're still looking at that. But I think that we're thinking about going.
All your girls, I think, no, Nadia, you might have to
Nadia, I have to pay for. Yeah, so it's actually not.
Level.
Yeah, so but
the other two girls would be free. They're young enough.
Right.
But anyways, one of the coolest things about the conventions is the costume. My boys have really gotten into costuming. They love Doctor Who, so all their costumes right now are focused on Doctor Who, and we've done some fun, costumes. Last year, me and my son built a Dalek costume, and he won award at Mile High Con for it. And when he wore it to Comic-Con, we had to stop like every 5 feet because a half dozen people would take pictures of us every time we turned around. It was just awesome. So the costuming is a huge part of it. And this first one is articles called "Treat Her Like a TARDIS Princess." And I remember seeing the pictures of this young lady, Sasha Trebane, on Facebook. And she handmade this dress. This dress was sewn by, she did all the work on it. This is an awesome dress.
That's really cool.
It looks like a TARDIS. Then she can, it looks like Velcro, holds it on. She can flip part of the dress open, and you see the inside of the TARDIS. I remember seeing these pictures going, oh my god, that is awesome.
It's fantastic, and it's artistic.
It's pretty cool.
It's beautiful. And when I saw her, my first thought was, I looked at it and thought, the first thing was, this is an awesome dress. Second thought, I honestly thought she was actually kind of cute. I liked her smile. And I had a bit of a kinky thought as to where the position of the TARDIS interior is. So it shocked me to no end when I saw this stuff that apparently some assholes were criticizing the fact that she was a bit hefty. Because I never saw that. I look at the pictures, and she looks to me like about an average-sized woman.
Actually, she looks like she's got pretty healthy curves on her.
She looks like a real woman.
Yeah, to me, there's nothing unattractive about her. But there were assholes out there that started dogging on her size.
Well, Ian, the difference between you and these guys who are dogging on her for their size is that you've actually been in a room with a real woman.
And now I've seen...
Enough said.
I've seen large-sized women who wear costumes to the conventions that are probably a bit tight, a bit much, and aren't flattering to their figure. This dress flatters her figure so well. You can't even criticize that. And to actually come out and start, really being this crude about it, it just crosses a line that, you look at the work she's done on the costume first and foremost to me and think that is brilliant. if the first thing you're looking at is the size of the person wearing it, then you don't get it. And,
Yeah. My question is, why are these people so small that they have to try to hurt somebody else to make themselves feel better?
Yeah, it makes no sense. There's no justification for it, no rationale. These people need help. They need to get with the real world. Because, a dress like that is an award-winning dress in most costume contests. And, right. And I've seen this stuff before, and it's always puzzled me because I can't understand that mindset.
I also did some looking about her, and apparently she's a professional model.
Okay, well, like I said, I loved her smile. I mean, you look at her smile in those pictures, and it is a great smile. So I could definitely see some of that. She has and the way she is posing with the dress, she definitely has a feel for it.
You know what though? But this is typical internet types of stuff where these people can remain nameless. They're behind their keyboard. They can sit around and they can say this kind of stuff, and there's very little retribution for.
And our second story actually goes into that. The second story here, and it's a very similar thing. Another one of those like, what the hell's wrong with these people thing? And this article is actually from a lady herself. And the article is, I'm a black female cosplayer, and some people hate it. Basically, this young lady who is, much more does the conventions, loves dressing up, she loves doing cosplay, however it's pronounced.
Cosplay.
And, of course, a big thing there is the anime characters. Apparently she's a huge fan of Sailor Moon, and her favorite Sailor Moon character is Sailor Venus. So she decided to dress up as Sailor Venus for convention. Well, the young lady is black, and Sailor Venus is a white character.
Oh, God.
Personally, she looks fine in the costume. But after she put the picture up online, apparently there was a whole bunch of comments coming back how, a black person doing that? No, that doesn't, for a black person it was okay. Stuff like that. It's like, what? How come a black person isn't, given the same respect as a white person in this case? Why are you saying that? Making it sound like race has something to do with your ability to dress up in beautiful costumes. And this article is her article. She wrote it herself, talking about her experience with it. And one of the things she goes in is it's these people online who are hiding behind the indirect contact who are making the comment. They'd never be willing to do this to her face. But when they can hide behind hey, look, ha-ha, from afar, they can get away with it. And it's sad. It really is. You look at her costumes, she does some beautiful work. She has a really attractive little kinky Captain America costume in one picture. That is nicely done.
It's a little steampunky. With the corset and so forth. Yeah. Looks good.
Yeah. But see, it's something she has a passion for and is good at, and I think she looks good in her costume. And she talks about why is it an issue for a black woman to dress up as a white character? Because she even says at one point, it doesn't seem like there's an issue of white people dressing up as black characters. And she talked about she has an Indian friend who refused to do anything other than Indian characters because of concern over the criticism. And it's like, and it's another one of those things. I was raised with, honestly, Stephen Colbert jokes about it, but I do have somewhat of a blinder when it comes to race. It's something that it's not, when I meet a person, that's one of the farthest things from the first things I think about when I meet them. And to have so many people out there that's one of the first things they notice, one of the first things they judge a person on, floors me. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't, I can't grasp my mind around how you do that, how you get into that mind.
Noticing that somebody is black is not necessarily being racist. I mean, it's just who they are.
Well, noticing it, but making it into an issue of how you judge them, how you view them is.
And to say that this character cannot be reinterpreted by another person is also it's not right.
Right.
Right, but it's interesting though. We've stigmatized this so much. My sister and I were out bowling, and one of her professors from college was there. One of her tax professor, and he was a black man. And she's like, "Yeah, my tax professor's here." I'm like, "Well, which one is he?" And she wanted to say everything but he's the black man. But yet that was the most unique identifier, and you wouldn't. But we don't have the same issues like if he's the Asian. Oh, it's the Asian gentleman over there, right? But it's like, yes, he is the black man. that makes him identifiable, and now I know who you're talking about. It's not a judgment, but it's like that is an identifier. And if you're a white person amongst a sea of black people, the white person's an identifier. I mean, it's just we sometimes stigmatize stuff way too much too. We can go the other way into political correctness that is just ridiculous.
Agreed. But in this case, it is deciding that you can view her ability to cosplay on whether she's black or not. And that makes no sense. It doesn't work. And once more, it's one of the things I love about the convention community is, for the most part, they're non-judgmental. I mean, you have every race there. You have every sexuality. You know, it is a melting pot. It's a huge melting pot. And for the most part, they get along. I mean, that's one of the things I love about Mile High Con. And that's one of the conventions I've gone to for over 20 years now, is everything is there. And it's not like you say, oh, look at that person. There are transvestites there. There are transgendered people there, but we don't sit back and avoid them. I sit and have conversations with them as if they were regular people, because they are regular people. And so anytime, especially when I see it in a community like this that I am part of and that I have a passion for, it bothers me and puzzles me, because it shouldn't be there. It shouldn't be anywhere, but it definitely should be in this kind of a community.
Yeah, you would think that the people who have been discriminated against for being who they are and go to these kind of conferences for a chance to be with their own people and be able to express themselves the way they want would have a little bit more understanding about how doing that same discrimination to somebody else is retarded.
Now, I did love, she was talking about, because apparently someone talked about how you should stay in your character range. She's like, characters in my range. Comic book heroines and anime characters are typically about 6 feet tall, have basketballs for boobs, and probably weigh around 110 pounds. They're not in anybody's range.
But essentially what they're saying is, couldn't you have done a Storm costume?
And she actually mentioned Storm, saying that actually one of the most beautiful Storm costumes she's ever saw was a white woman doing Storm. And she thought it was the most impressive one she had ever seen. So,
Yeah, I don't know.
I almost said Halle Berry.
Yeah. No, she looks great. I mean, this person looks great in all these costumes. She's well within her range. I mean, what do you want to say? I mean, here's the bigger problem. This is a woman doing Captain America. Shouldn't that be the bigger problem?
What's the internet rule? I don't know it right offhand, but rule like 34 or something.
I've heard something about it. I've never looked anything up, but I've actually heard references to it. I don't know about it. But,
that's okay. It's not Rule 34, which is if it exists, there is porn for it.
Oh, okay.
Well, here's the thing, is that the idea of keeping something in your range, I mean, the whole purpose of comic book stuff is that these people aren't real. That's why we like them. That's why they're fun to emulate, is that they're not real people. They're above and beyond. So
it's Rule 63. Rule 63 is the rule of the internet that reads as follows. For any given male character, there is a female version of that character.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
The only exceptions to the rules are in the instance that A, the male character is already so androgynous that a female version would be basically the same, or B, the female version hasn't been drawn yet.
Like Superman?
Okay. I think more like Aquaman. He's really androgynous.
No, the whole idea that you should try to pick somebody that, that's in your range is absolutely freaking ridiculous. And yeah, the whole thing about them being 6 foot and basketballs for boobs is absolutely true. Yeah.
Basically, the whole point of cosplaying is to be able to step into your fantasy.
Well,
they're saying is that what they're essentially saying about this woman is her fantasies are wrong. Her fantasies are out of place. And who are they to say that? You know?
She might be wrong about her tastes about Sailor Moon, though.
Hey, if her tastes you're saying of her choice of Sailor Moon being a fantasy,
I'm saying
that could be a point. Yeah. You may have a good point there. I was going to say though, if her Sailor Moon costume is wrong, I don't want to be right.
No. The costume's fine. Not having an issue with the costume. All right. I think that we've made our point on this. She can dress however she wants. So can the other lady.
Yep.
So say we all.
There we go. Let it be done. In fact, maybe I'll suggest a costume for her. She has nice legs.
Yes, he does have nice legs.
Yeah. And quite frankly, we are overly judgmental of how people look in general.
Yeah.
And I know that, and even as a person, I try to really catch myself, but I think we all have those tendencies at times, and we have to step outside of ourselves and realize what we're doing. If we're honest,
that's what maturity is, right? Not stopping yourself from having the random thoughts you have, but being smart enough not to post them on the internet.
Exactly.
Or at the very least to analyze those thoughts and say, okay, why am I having this thought, and is this really who I want to be?
No, yeah, exactly.
I think there's another point here, which is that there's kind of a thought here that if a woman is cosplaying, she needs to look appropriate. And when they're saying look appropriate, they're also saying that if a woman is cosplaying, that she needs to look attractive as whatever she's cosplaying. And that's a sad double standard too, because, the guys who are cosplaying, in a lot of cases, are nowhere near that same kind of level of physical attractiveness that she is.
Yeah. Although I'll admit, I don't think I'd ever do a character where I had to take my shirt off.
Are you
I don't
kidding?
think anyone wants to see that.
I'm totally seeing a beer gut Captain America in your future. And on that note,
on that visual.
Say good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
And thanks for joining us.
Thank you for listening to the Amateur Skeptics Podcast. For more information about the Amateur Skeptics, go to amateurskeptics.com. To send us feedback, suggestions, or big flaming insults, feel free to contact us at WTF@amateurskeptics.com. Other contact information can be found on our website.
You can leave a voicemail for the Amateur Skeptics Podcast at 720-295-7785. Music for this podcast was provided by OFM. To find out more about OFM, go to myspace.com/OFMHQ. This podcast is released under a Creative Commons, No Derivatives 3.5 license. Thank you for listening to the Amateur Skeptics Podcast.
Amateur Skeptics website, Facebook, and podcast album art is provided by and copyright Shadow Knight Digital Portraiture. Larger prints or custom pieces are available upon request.